Welcome, everyone. It's Cannabis News. I'm your host, Joe Clare. It's June 22nd, 2019. No, that is not a typo. Yes, I am recording this on a Saturday. I normally never do that. Saturday is usually my day off from doing things, although I don't actually have days off. There's never been a day since 2010 where I haven't been doing something, reading about cannabis, writing about cannabis, doing something for my other shows, doing some freelance stuff. I'm not big on off days. If I go an entire day without actually doing something or accomplishing something or promoting something, I feel like I've wasted that day. In any case, we usually don't do shows on Saturday. We do them 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. But as you know, earlier this week, specifically the June 19th show, was missed because of internet problems with this building that I broadcast from or record this show in. So we're making it up. So there's an even number 5 a week going forward. Because I already screwed up. I put the wrong date on the show. The June 20th show, I put the date June 19th on that originally, and we had to go back and fix that. So it's already causing problems, and I don't want problems. 5 shows a week. Each week, the number count for the episodes goes up 5. That's the way I want to keep it, because changing it now is just going to really throw me off and cause all kinds of catastrophes for the show. In any case, that's why I'm here on a Saturday doing a makeup show, if you will, today on the special Saturday makeup show. Have I mentioned it enough now? All right, let's move on. FAA clarifies regulations when it comes to pilots and medical marijuana. Also, a new marijuana study finds the CBD may cause some liver problems for people. Also, new study on THC levels and impairment when it comes to driving. We're going to talk about all that. But first, NatureSide. Yes, nature-side.com and their organic, all-natural pesticides. They are a proud sponsor of the show. If you're growing cannabis in a state where it's legal, make sure you're not using banned pesticides. Make sure you are regulatory compliant. Grow safe and poison-free. Don't put harmful, awful chemicals on what you are growing. People are going to be ingesting that, many of them medical marijuana patients with compromised immune systems. Grow safe, poison-free. As I said, NatureSide, nature-side.com, a proud sponsor of Cannabis News. Thank you, NatureSide. This first story by Julia Granowitz at marijuanatimes.org. FAA clarifies regulations for pilots who want to use or want to medicate with cannabis or use medical cannabis, however you want to phrase it. If you want to phrase it the way she did, which I should, pilots who want to medicate with cannabis. Of course, as you know, the TSA clarified recently, you can bring CBD oil on flights without concern, but there are many more issues surrounding cannabis policy and flying that still needs to be addressed. This week, the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, issued an advisory addressing what pilots should consider when looking at drug testing prior to certification. While the FAA will not penalize pilots for CBD use with regard to the FDA-approved drug Epidiolex, using CBD oil is not going to be an accepted reason for testing positive for THC. That's for medical marijuana. It's illegal under federal law, and pilots will continue to be tested for THC. If a test is positive for THC, they won't be taken to the air, even if it's only trace amounts of THC from full-spectrum hemp or state legal or doctor-recommended medical marijuana. Basically, as you know, if you use CBD oil, there's supposed to be less than 0.3% THC in it, and you really have to use a lot and really saturate your body with a lot of CBD on a daily basis to get your THC levels up to enough to where it's going to trigger a failure of a drug test. But as the FAA said in the bulletin published on its website and in its safety briefing magazine, quote, product labels are often inaccurate, although most CBD products claim to have under 0.3% THC. They could contain high enough levels of THC to make a drug test positive. Use of CBD oil is not accepted as an affirmative defense against a positive drug test. So if you're a pilot and you're using CBD oil, beware of possibly failing a drug test for THC. Anybody actually out there, if you have a drug test for your employment that involves testing for THC, then it's very possible that with inaccurate labels or heavy CBD use, there could possibly be a problem with the THC. So keep an eye on that. This next story from Forbes.com, marijuana study finds CBD can cause liver damage. Now that's a bit of it's a title, let's say, that leaves some things out. It may lead you to some conclusions that aren't actually real. Mike Adams, the guy who wrote this article, he goes through talking about how CBD has become popular, etc. But the problem is that this recent study studied mice. Findings were published earlier this year in the journal Molecules. Suggest that while people may be using CBD as a safer alternative to conventional pain relievers like acetaminophen, the compound may actually be just as harmful to their livers. It is the methods used in this study that make it most interesting. First, researchers utilized all the doses and safety recommendations from the CBD-based drug known as Epidiolex, which we just mentioned. We've mentioned many times on the show. If the name sounds familiar, of course, the FDA approved it last year. Researchers then spent some time examining mice under the influence of various doses of CBD. Some of the animals received lower doses while others were given more. Apparently that created problems with their livers. Researchers discovered that the mice given higher doses of CBD showed signs of liver damage within 24 hours. To that end, 75% of these animals in the subacute phase had either died or were on the verge of death within a few days. Here's the problem. And he says that this paragraph right here encapsulates the problem with this. Researchers at the University of Arkansas for Medical Science recently rolled up their sleeves to investigate CBD hepatotoxicity in mice. What they found was that while this cannabis derivative is gaining significant recognition as of late in the world of wellness, people that use CBD are at an elevated risk for liver toxicity. No, they didn't find that. I'm sorry, Mike, but they didn't find that at all. That's a false paragraph. I understand that we often, as human beings and researchers, use mice, and a lot of findings when it comes to mice have translated into the same findings for human beings, but it's not always the case. If it were, there would be no such thing as human clinical trials. We would do all our studies on mice, anything human related. We would do all our mice and find out what the problem is. So to say in the same paragraph that they investigated CBD hepatotoxicity in mice and that people that use CBD are at an elevated risk for liver toxicity, no, they're not. One doesn't lead to the other. It kills mice. Okay, that's what the study found. CBD is really bad for mice. If you're a mouse and you're watching this, or you have a family of mice, or you have pet mice, or you're Mickey Mouse chilling at Disney World watching this show, watch your CBD intake. How about that? But to say that, this one study found CBD problems with the liver in mice, and that means that people who use CBD are at an elevated risk of liver problems from using CBD, that's not true. Now, having said that, we scroll down quite a bit to what I believe is better evidence toward this finding than some stupid study about mice. No offense to mice. Anyway, whoops, I think I went past it. Hold on. Here we go. Lead study author Igor Kotobrash, PhD, I'm sorry, I butchered that, I'm sure, recently told the health site Nutrient Ingredients USA that the risk of liver damage from CBD is a nasty side effect printed in black and white on GW Pharma's Epidiolex packaging. Quote, if you look at the Epidiolex label, he said, it clearly states a warning for liver injury. It states you have to monitor the liver enzyme levels of patients. In clinical trials, 5 to 20% of the patients developed elevated liver enzymes, and some patients were withdrawn from the trials, he added. Now that's what you lead with. If you're trying to make people think, or at least lead people to conjecture about whether or not CBD causes liver damage, that's much more impressive evidence to me than some stupid study on mice. Again, I'm sorry, mice, but you're mice. You're not humans. And I understand, like I said, I know mice are used and a lot of the findings are duplicated in humans. I understand all that. I get it. But to say that anything happens in a mouse automatically is going to happen in a human is stupid. They're different. For instance, if I step on a mouse, they die. If I step on a human, they go, hey, you just stepped on me. Don't do that again. I'm going to punch you in the face. It's one of the many differences between humans and mice. But the Epidiolex thing, clinical trials, 5 to 20% of patients developed elevated liver enzymes, and some patients were withdrawn from the trials. That's something to me. That's something to me. Oh, that's my stomach. My stomach's growling. My co-host for the day is my growling stomach. So, look, I'm not discounting the notion that down the line we'll find that CBD causes some problems. We haven't yet, but that doesn't mean we won't. Obviously, I'm open-minded to all that. But to say that mice are the reason we should be worried, no. But when they say clinical trials here, I'm assuming they're meaning humans, because Epidiolex is FDA approved, and you got to jump through a lot of stuff and do, full-scale trials and all that crap. Previous studies have also suggested that certain components of the cannabis plant may be harmful to the liver, although one study found that marijuana may actually help prevent liver damage in people with alcoholism. In some cases, it worsened the condition. So there's obviously conflicting studies when it comes to that. But I I wouldn't discount it. Is what my ending thought on that is. I wouldn't discount the possibility. I wouldn't go around saying that, hey, taking CBD is going to cause your liver to screw up. But if it does, you can't look back and say that there weren't warning signs. Having said that, it's your choice. With everything you ingest, it's your choice. I'm not here telling you to take anything. You don't want to smoke weed? You want to take CBD? Any of that? That's fine. Don't. If you do, that's fine. Do. The entire point is you're an adult human being who can make choices about what you ingest in your body. Do the research. Look into it. If you're getting CBD, check the testing on it. All that stuff. And if something happens later down the line, don't say that, I just didn't know. I just didn't know. It's because you didn't look. You have to be aware that there are risks with everything. Now, cannabis, I'll put up against any other substance on earth in terms of safety. Any substance, including water, anything. I'll put cannabis up against it, and I bet cannabis comes out on top when it comes to safety. But having said that, there may be some problems. I haven't experienced any. My liver's fine, as far as I know, but it doesn't mean anything. Of course, I'm not a mouse, so to beware. Maybe my anecdotal evidence won't translate to other human beings the way, my studies do. This last story, another study, is from Normal. CRS report THC levels not correlated with driver impairment. Basically, the report acknowledges, according to Normal, quote, research studies have been unable to consistently correlate levels of marijuana consumption or THC in a person's body and levels of impairment. Some researchers in the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration have observed that using a measure of THC as evidence of a driver's impairment is not supported by scientific evidence to date. In other words, as we've said many, many times on the show, and as many of you know, you smoke 18 blunts on Saturday night, and you don't smoke any on Sunday, and then you go to work Monday morning, you get pulled over, you're going to test probably through the roof for THC, but you're not impaired. A lot of things go into it. Tolerance, gender, body size, weight, all potency of what you used, the ingestion method of what you used, what you consumed cannabis-wise, all these things factor in. And just taking somebody's blood or their urine and saying there's whatever amount of THC in there in no way correlates to a level of impairment the same way that, say alcohol testing does for various reasons. And this has been found over and over and over again. Now, you can talk about impairment, you can talk about you shouldn't smoke weed and go driving. All that stuff is legitimate. But to say that if you have 0.7 nanograms of THC in your blood, and this means you're a certain level of impairment when it comes to driving, it's not true. It's not true. Someone with a high tolerance and much more THC in their blood is going to be able to drive much better than someone who has no tolerance for THC and just smoked a joint. There's a lot of differences that go into that. Tolerance is a huge factor when it comes to this. Again, I'm not advocating for you to smoke a blunt and go drive. I'm just saying the amount of THC in your blood has consistently been shown to have no correlation whatsoever when it comes to driving impairment. And obviously there'll be more studies on that, more studies on all of this. As I've always said, we'll welcome it. More research, yes. More, all of it, more. More legalization, more research, more marijuana, more growing, more retail sales, more stores, more delivery services, more business, more investment, more of it all. Just get to it. Get going. It's taking forever. I understand 8 decades of prohibition has caused a major disruption in what should be a booming, fully researched and vetted, well-established industry that instead is an industry in its infancy because, I don't want to be trite and say government sucks, but anyway, thanks everybody for checking out this special Saturday edition of Cannabis. I'm sorry for those you only listening to the audio version of the show. I was kind of shrugging my shoulders on camera in a very sarcastic manner. It's one of the many reasons you should watch the video version of the show on YouTube and Vimeo. Search Marijuana Times. You want the audio version? Apple Podcasts. Search Marijuana Times on there. MarijuanaTimes.org to find the show. A bunch of great articles as well. Thank you to NatureSide, nature-side.com, and the organic, all-natural pesticides. Thank you again, all of you, for checking out the Saturday edition of Cannabis News. Go enjoy your weekend. Be safe. We'll see you again right here next week on Cannabis News.